Jonathan Palmer, 18,000.
Or Heather, do you wanna do you wanna tell us a little about yourself?
Heather's away from the computer at this moment. She'll be back in a second.
Okay. Dave, let's hear from you. Tell us what you're up to. Getting everyone involved. See your notifications all day.
There's two Daves on this call. Are you talking to me, Dave, or the other Dave?
Oh shit! Yeah, Dave Cringe.
I was just here to listen. I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say about the Impact track. I just clicked the live stream button, so this is going out live on Twitter as well. I can share the link in the chat. I will, I just can't wait for ETH Denver. I think it's just going to be an amazing event. I'm going to be participating a little bit with some of the kids that are going to come in on Saturday. I'm going to be bringing a little micro drone and flying that around for them. And then also I'm going to have my vlogging rig as well, so we can kind of do some Casey Neistat style vlogging. So yeah, it should be a great event, and I'm excited to meet all the different people on the Impact track and see all the projects that are related to Impact.
All right, fantastic. Other Dave?
Hey, yeah, my name's Dave McGregor. I'm an engineer in Chicago. I've been getting in the blockchain space for about a year now. So it's been my first ETH Denver. Wasn't there last year. So I'm pretty excited just to meet a lot of other people in the space and hack out something cool over the weekend, try to learn as much as I can. I saw the stuff about the Impact track, and it seems kind of interesting work. So it's something that, as long as I'm volunteering some time and learning stuff, it'd be something I'd be interested in getting involved with.
Fantastic. And are you going to be out for any of the Biddle Week?
No, I'm not getting there until Wednesday.
Okay. We'll go through we have some Impact Track events leading up to the actual hackathon that we'll talk about it for anyone in Colorado. Hey, Ari.
Heyo.
Let's hear it.
Oh, hey, yeah, I guess I'm talking now. Yeah, Ari Lodrepor, CEO of Jalapeno Inventive, founder of HackCSU, COO of USA Hemp Project, a bunch of shit. Yeah, we're mostly on the call here to see how we can coordinate HackCSU and ETH Denver's Impact track, and listen to what you guys are doing, what we can learn from, because our hackathon is pretty much all impact focused. So, yeah, here to learn.
Awesome. Yeah. So there's a few follow-on events right after ETH Denver, including Blockchain Day at the Capitol. We'll talk about it real quick, and then that's right before HackCSU. So if we can kind of use that gap as a time to build on what we build at ETH Denver, it'd be really, really cool. Jonathan?
Yeah, it's great to see all of you guys. I'm in Boulder, so I'm fairly local to Denver. I'm pretty excited about this particular focus area, the Impact track specifically, and I'm putting together a bunch of design sprint focused kind of group design sessions during this event, focused on different areas of the Impact track sustainability initiative. So I'm really interested in leading a bunch of different things like that and facilitating great projects coming out of this space.
Awesome. Heather, you back with us?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Hi, Ari. Good to see you. The storms kept us apart. So what would you like me to talk to you? I'm sorry, I stepped out for a second.
I'll just give like a 30-second intro.
So I'm Heather Parks. I'm working with Ari to basically coordinate the whole hackathon. We're working basically from scratch. I think that Ari and I have been in the space for a while. We understand the different platforms involved. I think we have some amazing connections between not just regionally, but internationally that I'm looking forward to, that we're all looking forward to collaborating with. And I want to just maybe ask if we're going to have a couple of minutes at the end to talk to some specifics around that. So if that would be cool, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. I think right now we've got certainly a bit of content and then time to talk about what's of interest to us, get going on some team building projects. And there's also, Jonathan will talk a little bit about these impact design sprints later on that'll happen throughout Saturday. And we're still looking for some mentors and interesting focus areas to go down that area. Be a great time for that.
Cool. So I might go through my It's strange.
Kyle.
What's up, Ari? How you doing, man?
What up, Nick? I'm just over here. My screen is switching from you to Dan and his mic, and it's just you're looking good. How you doing?
I'm getting over a cold.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. All right. So I thought I was gonna do my own little side note here, but apparently the technology doesn't. Anyway, so yeah, I'm Dan Shields. I'm one of the ETH Denver stewards here, and I do a lot in the local Colorado blockchain community. So it's good to see a lot of the friendly faces here. And I'm really interested in getting the impact track and the Apprentio side of things, especially here, worked out at ETH Denver. So really, this is a chance to highlight some of the more important things we can do with blockchain in general. So talking about like how we can actually make that into reality is something I think that we're just about to get into presentation-wise. So yeah.
Cool. Nick, you want to give a little intro on where this came from last year and your vision for the track kind of been leading it the past year?
Yeah, sure. Well, hello everybody on the call. I think I at least recognize most of the faces that are showing the faces on the Zoom call. That's cool. I don't know what the fuck but it's a pleasure to meet you guys. The origins, not to go on too long of a rant here, but the origins of the impact track stem from last year, where a couple of us noticed some people were working on impact-related projects, and social impact, environmental impact are topics that are very near and dear to my heart, and that's kind of how I got into blockchain. I was working in East Africa back in 2010, and just saw how the impact it could have on on society, and so we were lucky and fortunate enough to work with John Pollard to get the impact track set up. And the design was kind of like threefold. One, we wanted to engage like the policy level people that are kind of at the big top level. So we incorporated the UN SDGs in as far as like the voting rights. For me personally, I don't really look at the SDGs just basically because I have a general idea of what impact is, at least for me. And so, but the SDGs are the ones that are approachable from, the higher levels. So it was engagement at the higher levels with the UN, and that's why we got UNICEF involved. It was engagement in the community level, and that's why we're trying to get people to hack on the project. And then it's engagement on the individual level. There's a lot of activities and workshops and stuff that are related to impact for this event. And there's plenty of ways to get involved, and most importantly, build a network. I think I've been in the impact space for like 15 years now, and I don't think there's ever been really an opportunity for so many smart people to be in one room. At least I haven't seen it. So I'm really excited. And if there's any way that I can help you guys out, just let me know. And I think Dan will talk a little bit later on perhaps about the Apprentio initiative. But as far as the Impact Track is concerned, I'm super excited. And if you haven't read the Medium article on it, please do, and just shoot me a text and I can Slack it to you or something. It kind of outlines everything that we're trying to do.
Yeah, could someone post the link in here to that?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna start sharing a little something I put together to kind of make sure we get through everything. Can everyone see that? This is in cool. Slideshow. Aha. Thank you, Dan, for the awesome graphics. And thank you to UNICEF, which is one of the sponsors, and News Network, which is the main sponsor, and will actually be providing the funds for our bounties, which we have $15,000 to give away just to the impact track. So really excited about that. And we're going to go through some of the judging criteria, which I'm sure anyone hacking is very interested in. And again, I started blockchain for sustainable development with Jeremy, who will join us a little later to talk about the sustainable development goals and how we can apply those to our impact projects. I think that's important because it creates an alignment for impact. What gets tracked gets measured, or what gets measured gets improved, and it's a really important part for blockchain. If we're going to incentivize something, we should incentivize something we agree to. We agree is universally beneficial, and Buffett coins, obviously, thanks to ETH Denver. So I always like to think that we're in this time. It's really a fork of where we want the future of humanity to go. We talk a lot about the immense challenges that we have right now, and the SDGs really drive that home with the number of people in poverty and climate change, the sixth extinction. We're literally living in the Anthropocene, which is a level of massive biodiversity loss, but it's also a time of amazing opportunity, and I think we're all here because blockchain has amazing capacity to organize humanity, organize social structures, create incentives, create markets for carbon, for reducing air pollution, for remittances, for more democratic access to voting, human rights. So there's a lot of ways we can go here, and that can contribute to the impact track. So this is what, in addition to the open track judging criteria, which is online in another Medium article and is more technical related, we really designed this criteria, and we want the impact track to be very accessible to non-technical founders as well. So designers, social entrepreneurs coming into the space, make it super open for them. And that's, Jonathan will talk about the impact design roundtables, and that'll be a fantastic opportunity for non-technical people to get really involved, find some mentors, local NGOs that are working on really interesting things, and fully contribute. And even if you're a non-technical founder or non-technical team, still be able to apply that and have a chance to win some of these bounties and give some runway and some credence to what you're doing to keep going after the impact track. Because that's really what we want to see, is projects that are sustained past ETH Denver, relationships formed, long-term mentors, inspiration, and so these three impact track criteria. Nick, did you want to talk a little bit more about them in detail, or I can go through them? Sorry. Let me start. So this most impactful, and this is really alignment with the SDGs, and the reason we're aligning to the SDGs, as I said, is that's where there's literally billions, if not trillions of dollars invested in the impact world, is mostly all through the container of the Sustainable Development Goals. So, and that's where the big foundations, pension funds, nonprofits, international government organizations like the World Health Organization, UNICEF, they're all aligned with these goals because they're universally accepted by the United Nations countries. So that's where the funding is and the partnerships to implement the projects. So that leads us to our next one, which is most sustainable. And so is it practical? Is it something that the people it is designed for can actually use it? So again, we're going to go deeper into this. There's a great event Wednesday of Biddle Week for designing impact projects, as well as the design sprints on Saturday. That's really about usability, human-centered design. If you're designing something for refugees, you got to take into account, what actually do they have access to? Do they have access to smartphones? And if all of their assets, property, their digital identity is simply tied to a phone that can be stolen, that might not be the best situation. So it's taking the blockchain and the technical stuff and putting it into the real world, that container, and we can kind of get a sense for how that will work before we just throw it out there into the real world. And then best use of blockchain. This is the important one. We're at a blockchain conference, so what we want to come away with is potential solutions for these problems. If they're blockchain related, fantastic. That'll be great for judging. If not, that's fine too. I hope you can find great mentors and continue project. Not everything requires blockchain, but we want to provide the tools and resources to apply blockchain, the core tenets of it, the real benefits of transparency, immutability, reducing corruption, decentralization. There's a lot of problems in the world that have those core problems that are what makes them the really problems that affect billions of people. That's why we haven't seen like democracy fully spread everywhere. That's why we don't have a way to truly internalize the externalities of the world, whether it be environmental or social issues. So we're going to provide lots of resources during Biddle Week and ETH Denver for that. So there's a few really cool events we got starting next week. This one's on Tuesday. This is the Denver Keystone event. So whoever is in Denver, that'd be fantastic to join us. And if you haven't yet gotten your ticket out here, you might want to do that a week early to attend something. So, Dan, you want to say really quickly about this one?
So Monday night, we were talking about the sponsors are going to be coming in, and I'm working this out right now with Bounties Network in particular, and potentially another guy who's on the call. I don't know if you want to give us a quick update as to what you were talking about, Sophia.
Yeah, hey guys. So we're going to do a sustainability one focused on social impact, but I might, if there's room if the Tuesday one is focused on sustainability, I might just present there instead.
So Monday would be what I believe Bounties Network and yourself will be working towards this Monday night, actually, the 11th. Tuesday is a different event here in Denver.
Okay, but is it like focused on sustainability? Or?
On Monday night, I think that's really up to whatever Bounties Network would like to do, and if you're working with them, absolutely.
Okay. I think it was just going to be like a project overview for everyone.
Okay. Perfect. Well, I think a lot of what we're seeing is Bounties Network being integrated into the impact tracking. So, like we're talking about this 15K prize package, which is going to be devoted to the impact track around these things. So that's, I guess, one thing. I don't know if you're going to talk a little bit more about that, Colin.
Yeah. Well, actually, if we have questions, let's go through them now for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty broad as designed, and there's a few there's a few things that we're going to work through on a weekday event next week that we'll talk about. But from that, we're going to have some outcomes of some more well-defined problem statements that don't necessarily like have a specific bounty tied to them, but is a great framework to work from if you don't really know what to hack in this space that is of value, because we're going to be working with some local nonprofits on things such as regenerative agriculture, homelessness, human rights issues, possibly food waste problem.
Yeah, so this is something I'd really like to get everyone's input on as well.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
The idea being that we have some connections ourselves here to some of these projects that we think we can bring in as partners. So if you have a great idea that really works and resounds here at ETH Denver, they'd like to take what you're up to and continue it after the event. I think this is a really exciting opportunity for us to make an impact, quite literally, with whatever we come up with over the course of this weekend. So yeah, I know I have some connections to the homeless community here in Denver, which I'd really like to bring in as partners, the Denver Homeless Out Loud community. And we can talk a little bit more about others that we might be able to partner with. But specifically, anybody on the call, I'm wondering, do you have someone that you're connected with or a project, especially here in the local area, that we might want to reach out to and partner with around getting an impact event, impact project started here that turns into something bigger? Specifically with the homeless, Dan?
Mm-hmm. Homeless or anything impact related.
Right. Something related to
So,
that.
as a girl, I hate to bring this up, but my ex-husband is the homeless. He runs the homeless direction for the Denver City Police Department in downtown Denver, in District 6, which is basically, well, where all the homeless people are.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't feel comfortable contacting him, but I would be happy to give you his information and direct you to the right person, because I know for a fact Denver Police Department takes this whole thing very, very seriously, and they're always looking for solutions. So
yeah,
I'd be happy. His name is Rob Parks. So if you want to contact him directly or just find out, so I know it's probably a little too much information, but.
Heather, send me that information directly. We can check about that offline.
Yeah, that's exactly the kind of like person that has the experience to kind of inform whether this is a practical solution, going back to sustainable. Is this actually something that people would use?
Well, and plus, the city and county levels are going to be looking for solutions that we've experimented with already or reached out to. So it's also a great opportunity to start working with the city and local government.
Yeah.
Right. So I have a project that I'm kind of working with right now. It's called Sandwich Party Sundays, and it started in LA in mid to early last year, like March or April, and they had since picked up some traction in Rhode Island. So they have a Memorial Day event on the May 26th. To feed every homeless person in Rhode Island. It's like 1,181 people. So I'm pitching to him the idea of why don't we put up, and this is what we're going to do with Taxius. Why don't we put up a bounty for a prize or a bounty to build an app that can allow them to basically feed all these homeless people with volunteers, but then also allow anyone around the country to participate on that day as well. So it could be a nationwide Sandwich Party Sunday that's centered in Rhode Island, and then everyone is participating through the app. So I'm not opposed to giving that to ETH Denver and then having a continuation at Hack CSU, and then that whole thing gets launched May 26th. And they've got a documentary going on around it. Like I said, the whole city of Rhode Island is super game on it, so it's a pretty big thing, and I think it fits within that criteria. So that's something we can discuss.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there access to that documentary online, Ari, real quick?
It's a documentary series, and they got a segment on it so far, and then they're doing another one on this. I don't think there's anything available on the upcoming one, but if you look up Sandwich Party Sundays, you should be able to find it, and I'll look.
Not Rhode Island, just Sundays.
Well, I mean, it's called the movement is called Sandwich Party Sunday. SandwichPartySunday.com.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And they've got news press, and I tell them if we can come up with something that uses tokens to incentivize or blockchain to track, whatever the way that food is distributed or who people are, maybe issue a digital identity through the app to those homeless people. I don't know, all kinds of things that could come out of that.
One thing about that, though, is remember that the hackathon itself, we don't want to frame an exact solution problem set. So this sounds maybe a little bit too specific.
Okay.
We'll have to, let's talk a little bit more about this. I like all of these ideas, you guys.
Well, I think we don't want to frame any like solutions, but framing the problem from
first.
Working.
Yeah, at least first.
A few different solutions, right?
But it's always good to have solutions in the background because how much research do you come across in your day where you're like, dang, I gotta remember that. Or no, these are the seeds we need to plant. So it's good to bring it up too.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's keep an open channel on these ideas because there's certainly time on Saturday, and there's a ton of stuff going on Saturday, but we've kind of planned for a couple more things to make it to develop over the next week or so. You can have time if you think of something by the end of this call, please bring it up. So this is the Wednesday event, Fiddling Systems and Power Impacts by Design. So this would be a perfect opportunity to come with a problem and invite some of the local subject matter experts, some NGOs, some of the guys in the homeless community to actually design the problem, and then we can frame that as a method to give people on the impact track or people to the hackathon with no real things to work on. This would be a fantastic way to get involved.
Yeah, I think this will be a great place to learn some tools and also to form some ideas, as well as we're talking about potentially having these impact track specific, like catering to a specific topic we'd like to have a bounty on or something along those lines. This is where we'll probably form those ideas more concretely.
One other thing. So after either Tuesday or Wednesday, we'll have a more relaxed impact track event at Native headquarters, which is a really cool space if you've never been there. I think a lot of you have, but it'll be a good time to just dive deeper into conversations, meet people in the space, and get pumped. So we'll send out a link to that very soon and invite coolest, most driven, impact-oriented people you know to that one. And then there's another team building event. We'll have a little bit of impact-oriented. There'll be some impact-oriented people there to help form teams. So throughout this week, there's a lot of opportunity to create teams, get involved, and so these are events to be sharing with people. Absolutely. This is on Valentine's Day, so don't know the week will be there.
I'll be there. I'll do all of my butt before.
Whatever.
Oh yeah.
That's what I keep telling her, but
Oh.
Yeah, so that'll be and then so this is the tentative schedule for ETH Denver. The full schedule will be released very soon, with all the workshops and panels. Saturday there'll be probably 2 panels going on at from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. as well as our design sprints. So one panel you can look forward to is at noon. There'll be a blockchain and climate change panel with a specific tilt towards regenerative agriculture and carbon markets. So So I'll be moderating that, and then soon after that, from 1 to 3 p.m., we'll have a climate-oriented design impact sprint. And Jonathan, if you want to talk for a little bit about these, and this is again is something we want to expand the what these sprints are about. We've got like 6 designers from Consensus willing to help run these. So if we can come up with a little more frameworks that we want to focus on, please let us know, and we'll try to make it happen.
Yeah, awesome. I'd love to share a little bit about the vision behind the sprints. I think when I look at a lot of the categories of the 3 different categories, I think Impact has a really great opportunity for non-technical people who often come to blockchain through some area of interest or focus area that's important to them for some intrinsic internal motivation or reason. So I want to create an opportunity to help those people engage in a focused design process around those areas. So basically, what we've done is we've gathered up a group of designers who are willing to step in and facilitate these design sprints, and they're abbreviated from what some processes can take up to 5 days to do these types of things. But essentially, we're going to run one of these in about 2 hours, and so people can come and get connected around a specific area of interest. So for example, like Kylan mentioned, right after from 1 to 3, we're going to run one of these specifically related to the topic of environmental issues. So piggybacking on that main session, but then people can actually plug into those real issues and work with the team to design a solution that's in an area that they're passionate about. So we've basically taken and tried to simplify all of the different sustainability initiatives into basically 5 categories in order to make it a little more streamlined, to focus on humanity as a group, to focus on things like water and sanitation and energy in one specific sprint, solutions to issues related to business, and also sustainable cities, and then planetary as kind of another group. So those were like rough categories to try to group the areas of interest together to get people in the same room. And then based on some of the design methodologies, we'll get people hooked up around common areas of interest to focus on solutions and prototyping. So the idea is that some people may not have the background to be able to produce this type of work. And so it's going to be facilitated in order to help people produce solutions in an area that they're really passionate about.
Yeah, and so those are actually groups around the SDGs, which, Jeremy, you want to start sharing your computer, or I can just move the mouse from here?
Hi everyone, I'm Jeremy, I'm the executive director of blockchain tract. Kylan is running a lot of the logistics and technical side. I'm here to create a place where you can come and go, huh? We don't get that. Talk to us about it. How does it apply to what we're dealing with? How does it apply in normal human being language and not international legal mumbledy jumble? Talk to us about what this means on the ground. Talk to us about what this means for our project, and how do we digest these darn things? So, yeah, Kylan, I can share from my end when time is needed.
Okay.
We can also just go to the last page and direct folks on their own computers to the website I was looking at. But if it's easy to share my screen, it'd be great.
Sure. Here, I've got one more thing, I guess. On these design sprints, Blockchain for Sustainable Development will be inviting some of our mentors and advisors to help with these sprints. And we would love for you to invite your network of people as well. And the best way to get them into actual ETH Denver to help mentor, I think that would probably be a question for Nick, if he's still on.
Sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, so if we're inviting mentors or subject matter experts to help run these design sprints, what's the best method to get them actually in the door?
Yeah, unfortunately, as far as I know, everybody that gets in the door has to be signed up. I could ask them, but I'm like 99.9% sure that that's the case.
Yeah, we can coordinate this kind of stuff as we go. Talk about it shortly after this meeting. Kyla, jump to the next page for me there on your slides.
Sure, yeah. So this is Blockchain Day of the Crypto. Just wanted to touch on this. So I think we're going to throw kind of this in as part of the bounties, the prizes. We have a few ins with the Colorado Blockchain Council to likely get some tables for some of the winning impact track projects. And the governor will be there. There will be members of the Colorado Senate and just a bunch of other business leaders, congressional leaders. So hopefully that could take your project to the next level and actually get some broader support and implementation partners, especially on the government level. That's like 2 weeks after, so a great motivator.
Yeah, and well, that also ties directly into what Ari, you were doing, and Heather as well, right? The Hack CSU event. So this will be a great time to continue. It says, start at ETH Denver, let's get some partners involved, highlight what we're doing at the Capitol, and maybe get some more people on board up in the up in Fort Collins.
Love it. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll be there.
Yeah, and you can put some probably info on that. We have an impact track table, and so we'll have like mentor signups there, team building signups. If you still haven't found a team after all these events, or need a specific developer, truffle genius, or UX guy, you can kind of put that out there. So I'm gonna let Jeremy take it away on the SDGs. That is his absolute passion.
Hi everyone, so I'm Jeremy. I'm the Executive Director of Blockchain for Sustainable Development, where Kylan is working from, as well as from Flux. I've been working with the SDGs through law school and now post-law school for about 4 years. This isn't your first experience working with the SDGs or other types of goal target frameworks for impact, whether it's through the Global Compact, through a UNDP program, or a UN Children's program. The SDGs are the internationalized framework. This is what 193 delegate members of the United Nations have agreed to as a declaration in the 2030 Agenda in 2015. And these goals are comprehensive. Most folks that know about the goals in general know at least these 17 and know them with their short names, as we have on the screen currently. No poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being. The goals are more than just no poverty. Most of the folks who would be critical of the SDGs might look at them and go, no poverty, the heck does that mean? Well, that's what the targets and indicators are there to talk about. And that's what I want to kind of maybe illuminate a little bit more about how they're framed, how the structure of the SDGs works for you all, because these are the things that I want you to engage with when it comes time to the impact sprint, as also when it comes time to developing over the course of the middle week and through the end of the competition on the end of the hackathon, on Sunday. I want you to be engaging with these in a deeper way than just we're solving hunger problems, we're solving healthcare problems. Let's get deeper. Let's have a conversation using the language of the UN is doing. And I'll give you a quick 10-15 minutes here right now and explain a little bit about why that matters to you to get deeper than we're fixing hunger. Don't worry. Doesn't it matter that we're all just trying to fix hunger? Let's not worry about how we do it or the ends justify the means. We're going to talk about why it makes a difference. A couple of reasons very quickly. One, it will change the way your impact aligns with other organizations. Two, it'll help define your own goals so that you're not missing your own goals. You're making as much impact in reality as you think you are and as you want to be. And three, it's going to be a funding help for you guys down the road. If we can get through the weekend and you win and you're one of the 5 and you get a little cash and you want to continue your project, this is going to show you exactly what avenue to go. And we'll start you out in a place where you're then verified, validated, justified the way you're collecting your data, the way you're making your impact. Because you've done it in line with the international framework, which is what, when you go up the chain to the Gates Foundation or a UN agency, they're going to want to see that you've done your due diligence on this side as well. Not just that it works, but that you've done it in a way that it worked intentionally. You can make it work by accident a million times, no one's going to give you money for it. You make it work on purpose once, and this helps you get there, this helps you show how to do it. First, I want to talk a little bit about the challenges that we're facing to begin with. why are we here? What is impact? Why do we care? It's a lot easier to just go, oh, you know, climate change, it's literally killing us, and it's the biggest national security threat we have, the biggest. If you want to help climate change, great. It's important, I think, because of the interlinkages, because of the connectivity between things like, for instance, everyone knows climate change is exacerbating problems of international migration. People are leaving areas that are too hot where they can't grow the crops, or they have no economy. Climate change is exacerbating that problem. So it's exactly those interlinkages that I think are most important, not just creating 5 categories and putting people in their spaces. It's good. Afterwards, they got to talk to each other and talk about where the connections between their projects may work, particularly if you're a project that's developing a new asset or value class, or a project that's creating a new platform, or interconnectivity between public and private partnerships under Goal 17. It doesn't just matter that you connected people. What did you connect them about? That's where the interlinkages matter. For that reason, we give you a very short, it's in your information packets as well, and everyone reads over it because it's very easy to do. But I think it's important to remind ourselves why we're here. I'll give you the short version. Billions of people still live in poverty. Over 875 million people today still live in extreme poverty, which means they earn less than $1.25 a day. World hunger is on the rise. Over 800 million people who are hungry or undernourished. 150 million kids don't get enough to eat. 150 million. That's a lot. Way too many. Hundreds of millions of children still can't read or are illiterate. Terrorism, violent extremism, conflict, and related humanitarian crises are still on the rise and threaten much of the progress that we've made over the post-war period of the last 70 years across the globe. And it's important, I think, to note that these are related humanitarian crises, meaning related to the threat, related to the conflict, but also related to things like climate change. I think it's important that we bring that up because everyone should remember exactly what the challenges we're facing are, where their project connects to those challenges, and how it may connect to other challenges out there. Then again, we do live in a time of great opportunity. Right now, this is the most peaceful and prosperous time the world has ever seen. Even with 150 million undernourished children, even with 872 million people in poverty, we are still more prosperous today than we ever have been. And we can talk about all the things that are great. Again, it's in your packet, my one paragraph about where we are in the world today. You can read those there. I think what's most important to address there in that section is that when it comes to our ability to address these challenges, as the human race, we are more able to address these challenges than we ever have been before. And why is that important? Not just to pat ourselves on the back or remind ourselves that everything isn't bad or cry every time we read the New York Times, but instead it's to remind us that you are the reason that we have that ability. Innovators, technologists, designers, engineers are the reason that we have this ability today. It's the reason the internet exists, it's the reason connectivity is where it is, and it's the reason enough people know about the problems of the world to find a way to care, to want to go make it happen. Technology and innovation, particularly emerging technologies like blockchain, as you know, are, we all believe, the future of the way the new world, the new digital world is going to be designed, and the platform and infrastructure under which it lives. But beyond that, it's also the place where the most opportunity is for us to maintain connectivity with people on the ground. Is going to be one of the biggest challenges we face. If you can help make that difference, whether through transparency that people will trust, or through availability because of the cost of the infrastructure you're building is so much lower than traditional infrastructure, you're providing access for people in a way that maybe is the most necessary thing across all of the goals. And I think that's where it's really important to remind yourselves, this isn't, hey, look, we have this interest, this is what we do for a living, we're going to go make impact, and we have an equal say in the impact as everybody else. No, you effing don't. You have much more impact than you know. You have much more impact than everyone else out there, every Joe Schmo in the world. So reminding us to take the skills, the design skills, the engineering skills, the tech skills, the coding skills, the connectivity skills, and using those for impact is important because if you have more ability to make that impact, you have more responsibility to take it on yourself to do it. The 2030 Agenda aims to solve these problems. The SDGs or the 2030 Agenda, I'll use them simultaneously, is designed to address these exact issues. We have these issues in the world. We've quantified them into 17 goals and how we can address them. What's important for the SDGs and different than previous goal sets that we've had and frameworks that we've had for the United Nations, that it takes into account the fact that we know you have a greater responsibility and that there are emerging technologies available. So again, in your welcome packet, there's a section that discusses why technology can address global challenges specifically. And I'll give you a very specific example too.
I don't think we have sent out those welcome packets yet, but we will.
Okay. I thought they had been clicked out to everybody. You will get in the next few hours when we're doing the final edit. You're going to get a packet that has a lot of what I'm talking about, and it'll give you a lot of the resources that I'll speak to you about today as well. But very specifically, Goal 9 deals with infrastructure. Goal 9.c says everyone should be connected to the internet by 2020. Goal 9.3, a different goal, but related, says our target is to increase the access of small-scale industrial enterprises, in particular developing countries, to financial services, affordable credit, and their integration into value chain market. Unless this video is the first time you've engaged with anyone in the blockchain world, you know that the biggest part of this is financial services. And the SDG says, create a new way for them to access you and use you, and do it in a way that's cheap and democratic. It literally says, create blockchain.
That is a far more complicated conversation.
It's a much more complicated conversation, but the point that I'm making is that the SDGs have come and called out technologists, emerging technology companies in the private sector as well, including every single one of you sitting here on this video. So I think, to me, this is the most important part of what the SDGs mean as far as why we want to bring it into Denver and why it's so important to be measuring our impact based on the SDGs, is because they have called out emerging technology companies to come and address these problems. And something like financial services, it's our favorite part of crypto or blockchain, or it's not, and for me it's not also, but they call it out, they ask for it. Anyway, moving on to the goals themselves. Kylan, you want to bring up the 17 for me again on your slide? Remember how these 17 are framed? We've got them built into, the UN breaks them down into 6 categories. What Jonathan has done is broke them down into 5 addressable categories for you. You can kind of look around and understand where those are framed. Issues like 1, 2, 3, and 4 are very human-based. Issues like 5 and 10 are dealing with equality, both internally and externally within states. Water and sanitation is kind of a mix, right? Number 6 is kind of human rightsy, kind of environmentally. It fits in both categories. 8 and 9 deal with work and infrastructure. 7 deals with energy, and I actually tie 7 and 13 very closely, climate action and affordable energy. 11 and 12 deal with business, supply chains, consumption patterns, production patterns, and a little bit of environment. Are you using pesticides in your farm? We talk about that when we talk about responsible production. On 14 and 15, we're talking about pure environment issues, life on land, life below water, and life on land. 16, just figure that's rule of law. That's law and order. That's all that is, and international as well, not just dealing with domestic crime. And 17, this is the partnership for the goals. Every one of you is going to touch that, because that deals with public-private partnerships. So no matter where you're sitting, you want to build a homeless project? Great. I can see 4 right now that we know we're going to connect with, right, Ari? But also, you're going to be connecting under 17, because your issue is connecting a private business, a private entity, and the citizens at large, with public organizations and public entities, like civil society, NGOs, IGOs, government, agencies, state agencies. That's where that connection is going to happen, particularly in an issue like homelessness. So to me, 17 is one that you all need to remember. It applies to you, and it's your network. It connects public and private together. Jump to the next page for me, Kyle. This is a really good example of how the SDGs interact. So goal 1, no poverty. Well, what does it really say? End poverty in all of its forms, everywhere. So yeah, I'm not going to get too pre-Ferrara legalese on you here, okay? But end poverty. What does poverty mean in all its forms? Well, there are multiple forms of poverty. There's regular old you and me used to be in college poverty. There's I don't make $1.25 a day poverty. These are different types of poverty. 1, we want to eradicate. 1, we want to eliminate. It's a stronger word. It's the way the international system does it. In the end, what we would look at is that there are 7 targets, 7 enumerated targets, and 2 lettered targets under Goal 1. Target 1.1. This is kind of a how do we end poverty in all of its forms. No poverty. That doesn't mean anything. End poverty in all of its forms. That means something, but we have to define what those words mean. So when we're talking about extreme poverty, these $1.25 a day people, they're under target 1.1. The other forms, all forms, remember, the other forms of poverty are in 1.2, and 1.3, 1.4, 1.5 deal with how to solve those problems, symptoms to the whole, or causes and things. target 1.1 is going very direct. It says eradicate extreme poverty, which means people living on $1.25 a day. That target is a part of achieving the larger goal. It's not going to achieve all forms, but if we meet target 1.1 as a globe by 2030, we've met part of goal 1. Now, if we don't have to get all the targets, most of them, then you can say you met the goal. The indicator is something that's really important. When I think of goals are the big urgent calls for action. Fix hunger, fix poverty. The targets are these narrower. It's either dealing with a part, again, one form of poverty, like 1.1, or it's dealing with a cause or a symptom of the whole. Indicators are the framework against which progress is made on these targets is measured. So for instance, if we're going to say, eradicate extreme forms of poverty, great. Now we've got a specific target. We know exactly what we're going to do. There's no confusing language. Everybody knows what 1.1 means. It's not confusing. It's not legalese. How do we measure it? How do we actually go and take those measurements? Well, we go around and we ask everybody, how much did you make today? If it's more than $1.25, we put a check mark. If there are people who aren't $1.25, we didn't solve that target. But how do we measure that? And why is it $1.25? Well, in this case, the indicator, the question that we would ask in the data set is, what is the proportion of population below the international poverty line? And then when it says by, that means disaggregated by. Disaggregation is a way to take data and split it up into smaller things. You know, Excel spreadsheets, and it's got all this is your filters. You know, you're on Zillow, you're looking for a house, you filter only houses with 3 bedrooms. This is your 3 bedrooms right here. By sex, male or female. By age groups. Employment status, are you employed or not? Rural, urban, and in fact, this data is disaggregated by a lot more than that. It's disaggregated by each country, and in fact, sometimes by each region, and in fact, sometimes by each county. Here in the United States, we collect this data by county. So Denver County and Arapahoe County are going to have different numbers who's living below $1.25 a day. I'm not hoping it's nobody. And this is how we measure that. Every single one of the 169 targets has at least one indicator. Every single one of the 17 goals has at least 5 or 6 targets. So we do this math, we end up with 230 some odd indicators. Why am I showing you the whole framework? Why not just go, can we just end freaking poverty? Why do I need to worry about measuring it? Unless you're doing your blockchain on pen and paper, you probably have data collected. So if you have data, ask the questions the right way. Address the indicators that target wants you to address. And if you happen to be collecting this information on folks, particularly if your project is dealing with communities, particularly rural communities in the developing world, the amount of data that we don't have on these folks is insane. A lot of it deals with how far do you live from a medical clinic? Do you have malaria? Have you been tested? Do you have AIDS? Have you been tested? We want to know these things, and they're baseline sets of data that the international organization, international community wants to know. So I give you the example here of 1.1, 1.1, and 1.1.1 to show you that no matter where you are in these goal sets, no matter where you are within these SDGs, there will be a target that you need to review, and there will be an indicator that you need to know about, particularly if it's one that your project relates directly to. And when you build the submission for this project, one of the parts of your business plan should be, and your impact plan should be, understanding which areas you need to be touching, understanding what the starting language you should be starting from is. You don't need to develop exactly what your data set is going to look like, what the questions you're going to be asking in full, but you do need to show that you've gone and addressed these things. And the reason I bring this up and teach you all about this is because this whole reason of teaching you about the SDGs, even in a very basic way, and discussing this today and again next week multiple times, and I will be available the whole time 15 through 17 to answer these questions, is because this is the answer to most impactful, your criteria number 1. And I heard Kylan earlier speaking about criteria number 2 and 3, and I will touch on those here in a few minutes. But just to touch on the most impactful part, showing that you've addressed these issues, showing that you've gone to your goal, you're going to build something for sustainable agriculture. So you went into goal 12, you dealt with sustainable agriculture, and you went into goal 2, you dealt with how that's going to relate to consumption, how that's going to relate to hunger issues, how that's going to relate to small-scale farming issues, and you're going to go through all these goals and target sets. We want to know that you've digested what the target actually is, not just, we're fixing hunger, yay, save everyone. Show us how. This is the how. And the indicators are very important for another reason. There's something else I wanted to bring up with you guys. There's a couple ways to make positive impact here. One, you're cause-driven. You go out and you say, someone else created a problem, or the world created a problem. And nobody's fault. The world's got a problem. I'm going to go fix it. Great. Syrian refugees coming out of Syria are in Jordan, Palestine, and Israel. Jordan and Palestine and Saudi Arabia right now, and they are without the transcripts. How about the records? They've been a doctor for 30 years. Their medical license is gone. I think Assad's going to send it to some rebels in a camp. Hey, I need my medical license so I can go practice in Europe. Screw you! He's not going to give it to them. But we can help create that through other types of records, maybe through a blockchain infrastructure. There's a problem, you're going to fix it. Cause-driven. The next way would be industry-driven. You see a problem that's happening all the time, and you're going to create a solution for how it's going to be more easily done or done with less negative impact. For instance, you're not going to make it so everyone wears shoes made out of recyclable corn shells, but you're going to go help Nike make more sustainable, less negatively impactful on the folks that are making it with better labor practices. I would call this the helping the devil be less bad category. You're not an angel. You're not trying to go be an angel, but you're going to make the devil be a little less bad, and it's more fun. You get to hang out with the devil instead of the boring angels. That's a good way to think about it. You can have impact without fixing somebody's problem. Just make somebody make less of a problem for the future. Third way, you're creating a whole new value class. This is where we create tree coin. We put the value of every ash, silver, maple, whatever, on a thing. It's got this many points. Pines that are in the years 2 through 8 of their life get higher value because they actually take in more carbon as they're going in their adolescent stage. Adult trees lose value. You're creating a new asset class, a new value class.
Jeremy?
Carbon trading scheme for many. In that situation,
Jeremy?
yeah.
Can I hop in? I just I know a couple of us have to go here pretty soon. I just want to know, like, is there does anybody have questions and stuff? You went over a lot of content. That's why I asked.
Yeah, and I thought the packet would be sent out by now. We'd kind of all be reading along.
Heather, I have a suggestion. Can I help?
Absolutely.
Please.
So, you know, as an older adult, I went kind of back to school again, just trying to figure out after software, like what the hell I wanted to do. And one of the course lines that I took, or one of the career paths that I took at the university were international relations. And I know for a fact every year at the university for those classes, if you were involved in that particular career path, you had to write a synopsis of not only the UN goals, but you also had to write your opinion on those goals and solutions for those goals. So perhaps HackCSU could help you in that respect, in the fact that you could be our contact for the international relations side of things over at the state university to bring those things to the forefront during the hackathon.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the plans. Is any projects that doesn't really know where they align with SDGs, we're going to be available to help align them and show them what resources are available.
And I have a question about Bufficorns. Is Bufficorn specific to the UN goals?
So Bufficorn is just a name for a ETH Denver participant.
Oh, okay, thank you.
It's like a unicorn and a buffalo, and I'm not.
Oh, white buffalo, I get it.
I'm gonna stretch the metaphor. Denver website, there's definitely some information about what a Bufficorn is. I think we're all descendant from Dan Shields, I believe. That's just
Yeah, he birthed us all.
I know a couple of folks have to go. I will keep it a little bit short, but I want to get through a little bit more here about the SDGs and how we can use it at ETH Denver to really advance our own missions. Just as Heather was discussing, it's vital that you be able to create a synopsis of how your project attaches to these SDGs. So that's what we mean by most impactful. One of the things I want to talk about very quickly was the most sustainable. Is this project practical? Is it easy to keep it going? Kylan mentioned a couple of ways, and as did Ari with his connections. Everyone has those connections. That's something that we've been dealing with here at B4SD for a while. We have nearly every agency at the UN and maybe a dozen international IGOs have said, when you have projects that work, email me. I would love to talk about it. Let's find a way to advance it. What they want to see is that you can get through this stage first. So I think a lot of the reason why we don't have direct involvement from major UN agencies, this is the testing ground. We have the access to them, we have the pathways to them, we have the infrastructure to get to them. What we don't have is a project that's out there that prove that it works. And we have those, and we've taken them to them. But we don't have from ETH Denver, from this group yet. That's what we're here to create next weekend. So I'm going really excited to see where we can go with that. If you have a project that you've designed in a way that will work down the road, we can get you there. And one of the ways that you can make sure you're planning for sustainability, long-term and longevity, is to ensure that when you're making these connections, you're researching other potential projects that have existed. This is actually question criteria 2 and 3, most sustainable and best use of blockchain. One of the great parts about what the SDGs will do is help you align down to your indicator and target framework. And from there, discover who the responsible or custodian agency is for that target. Each target has an agency, whether it's the WHO, the World Health Organization, the UN Development Program, the UNDP, UN Children, UN Women. Each one of these indicators has an agency that is responsible for managing all of these goals and target sets, and whether we're achieving them and whether the data is being collected well. Connect with those agencies. Go online, see what other projects they have in your area. This will help you do 2 things. 1, if you've got a project that's a blockchain-based version of a alternative, centralized, non-autonomous program or project, and you think you've created a solution that's better because of that, that's an answer to question 3. It also may be a good answer to question 2. For instance, if the UNDP has a program that's been running 20 years doing this, and you have developed a decentralized version of that, or a smarter AI version, autonomous on a DAG or whatever, some type of version that's better because the technology that's implemented, and their program has ran for 20 years successfully, and you're doing the exact same thing in a decentralized manner, and you've answered question 2 as well. Yes, it is scalable, it is practical, and it is easy to keep it going. The UNDP's been doing it for 20 years. All we did was make a better mousetrap, and the mousetrap is still used. So I think this is a great way to answers 1 and 2, and it revolves around your research. So this is where I'll jump actually to the last page of the slides there, and look at some of the links that I've placed. This is a very, very tertiary list of these links. The knowledge platform is your everything. That first page, when you click on that, that'll take you to a list of the SDGs in boxes. You click on one of those, it'll say targets and indicators right under it. Click on that, and it'll give you every target and indicator for number 2, every target and indicator for goal 3. That's how you go through and discover what targets and indicators apply to your project. Now remember, interlinkages, don't just look under food, don't just look under agriculture production, look under food. Don't just look under women's issues, look under health. Don't just look under education, look under work, because work and education are tied very closely. So remember, flip around, discover, play. It's actually a fun website. Just click bait, you'll have fun. The second is this link to the official declaration. You want to get legalese? You want to build the business plan? Have the project manager go in and copy and paste a couple of words from their paragraphs of this document. That's the official UNBS. The next one down, this is a page for citizen awareness. If you're actually connecting with people on the ground, encouraging them to do better, encouraging them to make some kind of a difference themselves, look to this page here that you can connect through the Medium page for. There's a link in there under the Medium page that deals with, for ETH Denver's Impact track, that deals with, it goes to un.org/sustainable development goals/sustainable development goals. That link will give you a little bit of the, what can you do in your everyday? Turn off the water when you brush your teeth, close your kids, that kind of stuff. The SDG reports, 2018, 17, 16. This is the statistics. Each one of those years deals with 5 different goals. So you may be dealing with a goal that was measured in detail in 17, but not measured in detail in 18. This gives you the data. The first page of your project's business plan is, there are 851 million starving people in the world if you're trying to solve a hunger problem. This is where you get those statistics. And cute infographics. Everyone loves infographics, so go there. The next one, World Development Report. This is a World Bank report. It's 9,700 trillion pages. Do not read the whole thing. Do a Control F search for your issues. Best statistics in the world. This is what the U.S. government uses for theirs. And that last one is just an ETH Denver article. You can link to all the different partners that we're working with here at the ETH Denver Impact track. The UNICEF pages are great. I think there's other partners that we have. They're doing excellent jobs. Look at the links on their sites and how they would advise you there. And use these things for all of the different areas we spoke about. Again, you can discover how impactful you're going to be and try to meet that criteria through these links. You can also discover the best use of blockchain. Go to the UN Sustainable Development Platform. That knowledge platform for each goal will also tell you who the responsible custodian agency is. You can go from there and begin researching hundreds of projects working on the issues that you're working on. begin to discover how other projects, even if they're 20 years old, even if they're not technology, even if it's not blockchain, so how they're approaching solving that problem and where they've found the bottlenecks to be. And the reason I highly suggest getting deep in your research, and I think Heather, with her experience, particularly going back to school as well, would vouch for this, and everyone else here has done advanced degrees would know what I mean. More research, all of a sudden you're going, oh, and you can narrow your project in such a way that it might give you a narrowing of your project, make it easier for you to build it, and help you understand where the bottlenecks you're going to encounter will be based on the bottlenecks other projects have encountered. The only other thing I would focus on here as far as the SDGs and how to interact with them, how to engage with them, is to think about, and I've got it here in the Buffcorn game plan pages here, is, again, and I've mentioned it before, first, some of you are coming in with an existing project in mind. Great, go to the goals, we'll help you. The second way is you can kind of look at some of the challenges Heather's brought up, and Kylan. We can have conversations in that week at Biddle Week about, if you really don't know what challenge, I'll find me personally, if you really don't know your challenge, at Biddle Week, or email me personally, Zoom me, Skype me, whatever. I'll get my information here in the chat before we're done. Let me pick your brain. I'm going to ask you what pisses you off about the world, and I'm going to help you figure out what project you're passionate about, because I've been doing this for a long time. That's something I'd be happy to help with. Finding someone's passion is always inspiring, and if you're not really passionate about it, you're not going to build a good project. Do something you give a good shit about. Really. If you don't give a shit, it's not going to be a good project. Second, if you do have that project in mind, or once you get that project in mind, do the research first. Look at the goals. Look at some targets from those goals. Look at agencies in the international arena that deal with those project problems, and then hit me up with that next set of questions. I think that's a really good way to address it. The other thing I want you to focus on is, and I've mentioned it before, is the interlinkages. Don't forget, if you're dealing with agriculture, you're dealing with hunger. Don't forget, if you're dealing with agriculture, you're dealing with work. Tell me, call out, what other areas you're working on? It's connected to something else. Kylan loves infrastructure stuff. Digital, creating places where people can do things they couldn't do before. Right? The guru type brain that he has. That's what he also forgets that infrastructure deals with all the other goals at the exact same time. Because under infrastructure is internet. Without internet, we can't solve any of the other goals through technological means at least. So I think that these are important things to remember. And they're all in this packet, which I wish had been sent out. Important things to remember. Foundational change. Again, sometimes we're so in the weeds with blockchain, we don't see the forest through the trees anymore. Remember that nearly every single project that comes to ETH Denver, Impact or not, probably has some correlation to the Impact track. And they're going open tracking, so they don't have so much time, they're not going to focus on it. No matter what is in the back of your head, this is foundational change. We're building a new infrastructure, new digital infrastructure. So every single blockchain project, unless it's like Hitler chain or genocide chain, you're probably going to have a positive impact on the world in some way in developing new infrastructure for people. So remember that. Two, remember the data. It's not just about you're trying to change the world, change the world, change the world. If you collect data on how the world is either shitty or not shitty or getting better, you're also making a difference towards the SDGs. Baseline data, we don't have enough of it. We need more.
Jeremy, I think we got it. Thank you. We want to talk to you. Quit talking to us.
I was just going through a presentation. I apologize.
I know. I could tell.
Yeah. So third, interlinkages. Don't forget about your interlinkages. And fourth, partnerships. Everyone has a correlation to goal 17. And I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with next week.
Well, we want to talk to you now. Can we ask you questions?
Oh, certainly.
So, you're talking. First of all, I want to personally ask you in front of everybody. Would you please come be the key speaker at our event? Because I think your insight into the initiatives, not just on a local scale but on a global scale, are amazing. And you're obviously knowledgeable in these things. You're obviously well versed in these things. You can talk to them. You have this presentation that I think a lot of us were just, a little curious to like, how do we integrate you into everything? So like, I know you said that, we can contact you and everything, but that's a lot of goals. I mean, to address the whole agenda is a big, lofty goal. would you be willing to like maybe come to a couple of things that you think that the IMF or the monetary funds would be willing to look at? Give us like a top three like solution scenario that they would like in the immediate future for maybe a short term and a long term goal objective.
Yeah, I think that's part of why I brought up. I want you to find out what you're passionate before you go and try to make a project. One, because it'll be crappy if you're not passionate, but two, because you can't tackle the whole thing at once.
Well, and I don't think you can assign it to one major corporation or any major corporation at this point, given data breaches. So, are you willing to talk about non-traditional solutions, like true non-traditional platforms that don't run through Amazon Web Services, that don't run through Microsoft, that are working on hardware that is specific to the blockchain solution architecture? Are you guys and are you affiliated with the right people that can say yes or no? These are the things that are important to us.
Yeah, I think again, for every business, it's going to be, particularly when it comes to international corporations, it's going to be a different concern about where the issues are. I would say that for them, supply chain management is massive, but you also have to begin to think about it from a business person's perspective, which is not necessarily the focus of what we're thinking about today. But again, you want to make sure that you're going, here's an entrepreneurial solution in the space where they want an entrepreneurial solution. I think supply chain management, they want to have Deloitte build their chain and do it for them, right?
I agree.
They don't want the entrepreneur to come build that area. So I think there's a little bit of game playing, which is not my department, okay? But a little bit of game playing and starting to go, you know what? This is a great solution.
But those are the very real games we're in right now.
Oh yeah, these are business development games and political questions as well. I think that if you can, this is something where the data is important, and I think we always forget about.
And there's data questions right now. Who owns data? How do people own it?
Whatsoever, but you collect data, they'll buy you.
Yeah. And you know, and like you said, each individual UN agenda item is going to have a specific goal in mind, or a specific country in mind, or a specific solution in mind for that country. And you know, whether or not it's landlocked, does it have a seaport? Do we need to address shipping issues? Do we need to address, what's it called when they donate money internationally? You know, these are all things I think we want to address, but to bring up the questions is great. I love it. I absolutely fucking love that you're so into the agenda, because I remember being into the agenda and nobody gave a shit, you know, and nobody was ready to find solutions. They were just asking more and more questions, where I feel blockchain is actually in the position to provide solutions to the agenda items that you're speaking to. So let's actually get them involved at a level that you see. So if you see them moving towards things that are, you know, more governance oriented because of, or security oriented because of what they're dealing with, and I am not under the belief that blockchain is not involved in all things. I don't care if you're just making a phone call. I think that call needs to be logged on a blockchain in a private way and in a secure way, not on some Verizon database that can be accessed at any point by anyone who can also get your, you know, Visa number, your, you know, cell phone number, your social security number, and anything that you've posted on your account. Like that's not a solution. Working with these major companies who are having fails are not solutions to me. Working with these major companies who are failing are giving us the lessons learned that we need to provide the infrastructure and the setup that real blockchain solutions can provide. And if we can provide those real blockchain solutions, why not? So let's focus on that.
The answer is a lot less. Here's the goals that you should go, or targets or specific issues that you should go create a solution for. There is funding available from a million different places.
Good luck finding it.
Across goals. But I think that this is again why I brought up how broad impact is. If we're talking about projects that are going to change a problem in the world, like I said, that first category of types of projects that we spoke about earlier, that would be something that you could expect to be funded more likely by
a major corporation, because you're providing a business.
Right. Yeah. No. There's a problem in the world, and we're gonna go create a solution to fix it, as opposed to going in the angels. Okay. So we're gonna go out. That could be funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, or the Carter Foundation, or the Ford
But
Foundation.
it's not going to be done by Verizon. It's not going to be done by the people.
No, maybe. No, absolutely, maybe. Yeah. Or the IMF, or
well,
the
absolutely, maybe
it's funded by a corporation, but more likely to be funded by a corporation would be a problem, and to gain private funding from corporations would be a project that deals more with the second category, I suppose, not taking the devil category. Right? Would love to see that solution. Now,
hey guys, real quick, I have 10 minutes left. I'm sorry, but my ride's here. So, is somebody able to take over the Zoom bridge?
Yeah. Did you want us to mention anything about the UNICEF coin and building to that?
Yeah, the UNICEF coin basically, it's a collective good coin, and basically what we're using it for is to reward good behavior. So if you're going to be on the impact track, you'll get an impact coin. If you help clean up, you'll get an impact coin. Just things that are naturally good things. And then the idea is coin holders will get certain perks. Like we're thinking about creating a knowledge management platform that works in that fashion. That we basically somebody get access to it. And sorry, I'm doing a bad job of it, but Bounty's Network and UNICEF are both launching it, and there's going to be some Medium articles out about it in general. The long short of it is, it's going to be a really great project. It's going to be the first of its kind, and it's going to be launched at ETH Denver. So, yeah, you guys should get involved.
Be a way to engage with other projects in space and mentors and find resources, help each other out, pass it forward, pay it forward. Anything else? I think we could probably wrap it up pretty soon and put everyone's contacts out there.
Again, it's a little bit the things we went over, particularly what Heather and I got a little deep on, and some of the other things we've got deep on. For the rest of you folks there at the bottom of the chat window, don't feel intimidated by it. This was really an introductory little video sesh that we'll post online for everyone else as well to review and just say, you know, here we know what's going on, we know where the resources are, and we know what the resources are called. That's all this was. If you still don't get it and the way they're framed, go play around on the websites. We've gotten the links on the PowerPoint. Go to some of the stuff that UNICEF's put out, the Bounties Network as well, and come to some of the other events. Hit me up, hit up Kyle or Dan Shields or Heather, who knows a ton about this stuff as well, directly. Any of us are willing and more than able to kind of go through this again or help you digest a little bit more of what the SDGs are all about. But again, I think a good place to start, if you don't know where, or even if you do know where you want to go area-wise, start by just read every SDG title, click on the ones that sound like they're kind of correlated, look at how they're framed out, look at how the targets are framed out, and you will have a major leg up on everyone else coming into this impact track, because very few of us understand how look, I've been doing this 5 years just in this area. I don't even understand how all this stuff works in the United Nations. No one really understands it except the Secretary General, and even he's faking it a little bit. So just remember, it's okay. Call us if you have questions, but begin to play around. And just reading a little bit about it, getting a little more familiar with the types of targets that are associated will give you such a leg up. You guys have no idea.
Wow, that was incredible. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
No, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. If anyone is still here and wants and has specific questions, I have a couple more minutes. I'm happy to kick around if someone has some questions about their specific project or area, what SDGs, what targets should they be looking at, where is
So, Jeremy, how do you feel about, you know, and I'm just throwing this out there, but what if we attach the UN agenda and your specific goals, or not your specific goals, but their specific goals, to the hackathon as its sustainable framework, so that people would have an opportunity to work in any area that they wanted. Like you said, if they wanted to create birth certificates for children born in countries without identification or registry or any sort of.
Dan, Nick, tell me if I'm wrong. That's
that's the
what
goal.
we done did.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what we done did. But if
That's
I'm
awesome.
If I'm wrong, I
and that's
second
just one of
Heather's
a
suggestion.
million of things that students are actually studying right now that we're on a hackathon.
No, you know what? If that's not what we're doing, I second Heather's suggestion.
It is what we're doing. There's a million different things that could be built that tie to the SDGs, and we're open to all of them. We'll have a few events that help narrow it down if you need that.
And now maybe that's something I should have made more clear. I'll be very, very, very clear. And it's, I talked fast and there's a lot of information, so I get it if it wasn't clear. Maybe this is the most important part of this whole meeting. What we say by most impactful, which is criteria number 1 for the impact track, what we mean is how well did you digest and connect in a business plan in a written down way how what you're doing helps what we call goal attainment, sustainable development goal attainment.
Yeah, you called it the how.
Yeah, this is the how, but this is the how. How much of a difference does this project make in terms of the SDGs? How well aligned are you with the SDGs? How well do you explain? We're creating birth certificates. That creates identity. That allows them to access all the services under.
You guys, I gotta get going.
SDGs.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're good to leave, Nick. We have control of the call.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you, Nick.
Nick, thanks.
No, he just will skirt real fast. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, I think Heather's very astute in